Good evening and welcome to Mental Health Matters After Hours with me, Dr Audrey Tang. My co-host is Judith Crosier. As you can see, the setup is a little bit different today. Because our producer is away, I am going to be producing and presenting, and at the moment, Jude is producing whilst I am presenting. We're running it ourselves today, so hopefully we will do it right. And we have a lovely guest. You can see I've got my cup of tea. It's very early in the morning in the UK, so tea is always a good thing. We have got Dr Sharon Hall of the UK Tea and Infusions Association, and she is going to be talking to us about the many benefits of tea. I think we know that there are benefits of tea anyway. We are very much for our tea in the UK. But also she's going to talk to us about the tea producing countries, as well as fair trade, and how to make the perfect cuppa. So let's head over to the main studio.
Good evening. Welcome to Mental Health Matters After Hours, where we've got the lovely Dr Sharon Hall from the UK Tea and Infusions Association. We're going to be talking about tea this evening, so I can't wait. I'm going to pass you over to Audrey, who's got the first question over on the production desk.
Hi, Sharon. It's always great to chat with you. So thank you so much for being here. Now, tea has always been central to British culture. Everything seems better with tea when it comes to being in the UK, but there are real benefits to drinking tea. Do you mind sharing with us some of those benefits, please?
Not at all. You won't be surprised to hear that I'm an absolute tea fanatic. And, you know, obviously the first big one is hydration. Ignore all the myths. Tea is fantastic for your hydration. It's actually included in the Eat Well plate that the Department of Health have put together, so you can get your water intake from your regular cups of tea. But across the generations, tea benefits, offers so many benefits, such as protection from cardiovascular disease. There's evidence to suggest it supports weight management, oral health, because there's fluoride in tea. And also, I guess what you'll both be interested in is a boost for mental alertness. And studies have shown that for tea, whether it's regular black tea or green tea or any of those other teas, they contain helpful compounds proven to influence our brain, our blood vessels, and our gut. And these include polyphenols, caffeine, L-theanine, which is an amino acid, and fluoride.
Absolutely brilliant. I didn't know there were so many benefits to tea. Is there a perfect way to make a cup of tea?
There is a perfect, well, I would say the perfect way is to make it exactly how you like it. So as strong as you like it, with or without milk, with or without sugar. But there are some principles to really improving that cup of tea and really guaranteeing that you get a good cup of tea. And that's always use freshly drawn water. Mm-hmm. This freshly drawn water from your taps, perfectly fine. It's full of oxygen, and that oxygen will really help bring out the best flavor from the tea leaves. And then we always talk about smart boiling. So only boil the volume of water that you need for your cup of tea. So I usually measure it out with my mug, and this way you'll save time, money, and energy. And then critical to getting the great cup of tea is brewing time. And as I said, you know, you should make it in the way you want it. So with your black tea, if you like it super strong, as I do, with plenty of milk, leave it for a little bit longer. So I like to leave mine between 3 and 5 minutes. But you should always follow the instructions on the pack. But it's not just about taste. Going back to those health benefits, brewing time is critical to get the best out of the leaves. And actually, there are some compounds in tea that are really growing in interest. You find them in fruits as well, bioactives. And these bioactives, they're really underutilized in public health guidelines. And we should actually be advocating for their inclusion in dietary recommendations. Because we've got this real global shift towards preventative nutrition. So eating functional foods, drinking functional drinks that really help maintain our health and protect our health going forward. So these bioactives are, I mentioned them earlier, they're polyphenols. And one of the key polyphenols that you find in tea is something called flavanthriols. You've got more flavanthriols in tea than you have in a portion of blueberries, for example.
Wow.
And they are really proven to protect our cardiovascular health. And you only have to drink 2 or 3 cups of tea a day to get the right amount of these flavanthriols, which improve your blood pressure. They've been shown to reduce cholesterol. They have vascular function. They're really key markers of cardiometabolic health.
Wow, that's so interesting, and also reassuring to know, if you're a tea lover, that actually it's doing you some good. Does adding milk ever take away from the goodness?
I would say no. Milk does add a few calories. So tea without milk is obviously calorie free. Mm-hmm. So if you're watching the calories, you might want to consider that. But overall, the abundant health benefits that you find in a cup of tea are not diminished by adding milk. And of course, these days, milk doesn't necessarily mean cow's milk for everybody. No. So certainly people are exploring putting different milks in their teas. And, there's a wide range of teas out there. And I would say that some of those teas go better with some of those plant milks than perhaps others. So, for example, if you're making yourself a spiced chai, it might work really well with an almond milk, for example.
I love that because it gives us so much choice. I think this is fantastic. And just something I need to add, when I've spoken to Dr. Sharon before, she was really talking about this Smart Boil campaign. And since then, I have only ever used the right amount of water. So thank you, Dr. Sharon. You have really helped me as well.
Wait till you see the benefits on your electricity bill. Yeah, because it does mount up over the year.
Really does. It really does. Now, another benefit, of course, is that having that cup of tea can be a really mindful moment. And do you have any rituals that you could perhaps take us through, or just help us get a sense of peace when we have that afternoon cuppa or evening cuppa?
Absolutely. I mean, I actually use my tea brewing time as an opportunity to get away from the screen. I work on a laptop, as many people do, and we end up in this awful hunched over position, don't we? Really bad for our posture. So I really take that tea brewing time to get away from my desk, take a mini break. It's 3 to 5 minutes to make your cup of tea. I do some stretching and I do some breathing. So I think that's a really good use of that time. And I'm actually thinking of doing a little thing for our social media, things to do while you brew, because you can also load the dishwasher or load the washing machine or hang the washing out. So I think it's just having that time away from the screen that's really important. But the ritual of sitting down with a cup of tea is a really good opportunity to reflect. And we've just carried out a survey. We carry out one every year to understand people's tea drinking habits. And nearly 2/3 of all Brits like to brew a cup of tea to give themselves some thinking time. And that could be quiet time alone, or it could be time that you enjoy catching up with friends or colleagues at work and really, checking in on each other. So I think, Audrey, last time we spoke, it was around the Samaritan's Blue Monday campaign. And we really talked about the importance of offering to make someone a cup of tea, just to give you that opportunity to chat, check in with each other. And, of course, we know that we really do, put the kettle on in times of crisis. And again, 60% of people in our survey said that tea gives them comfort. So I think it's really apparent why we put the kettle on when, we're facing some of those difficult situations.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And yes, it was so lovely to chat with you. Jude, just so you know, Sharon and I had no idea that I was the psychologist on this campaign, and Sharon was the expert on the campaign. And it was so wonderful because I love speaking to Sharon. You bring such a lovely vibe. And that's why we're going to keep you with us. But to our audience, if you want to go and put on the kettle now, now's your chance. We'll be back right after this. A world without the arts is one without confidence, creativity and community, and yet funding has been reduced every year. Arts programmes have been shown to benefit social inclusion and well-being, particularly for marginalised groups, with projects fostering a sense of belonging, cultivating mutual understanding and breaking down social barriers and isolation. Participation in arts programmes can help boost confidence and open doors to opportunities that may otherwise be inaccessible. Click Arts Foundation offers grants up to £2,000 for grassroots arts projects twice a year, with our community arts experience trustees meticulously scoring each project on impact and sustainability. To date, we have supported craft and visual arts projects, dance, drumming for wellbeing, and preservation of heritage and culture. If you share our passion, not just for maintaining the arts themselves, but contributing to the many benefits it can bring, please consider making a donation to Click Arts Foundation registered charity.
Greetings, I'm Angel Marie Monticelli, host of Energize You TV, every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. Go to Fresh Takes right here on E360 and get Reiki-fied and energized today.
Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours, where we're speaking to the lovely Dr. Sharon about tea, which is one of my favourite things to drink. So we're really lucky to have Dr. Sharon. Audrey is still behind the production desk and she's going to ask the next question.
Now, I follow you on social media, Sharon. I fangirl over you, so it's not just stalking. But you have recently been to so many tea-producing countries. You speak a lot to fair trade. I mean, first of all, what brought you to your role? Because that is just so fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I must say I'm extremely lucky to go to all these wonderful tea growing countries and see how it's, really get into the tea estates and see how it's done. So interestingly, I used to work in the potato sector, so I would more often be found in my wellies in a field in Norfolk, talking about how to better grow potatoes. And I was actually, talking about mindful moments, I was actually on a trek to Everest Base Camp. So I was trekking up through the Himalayas in Nepal, and on the way up, you see all these small holdings. So people growing food to eat, not for selling, for eating. And I saw people growing potatoes, and I thought, gosh, I really could help you with rotation plans and help you improve your potato growth. And I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a role that really impacted on agriculture in other parts of the world? And when I came back from that trip, the job to take on the role at the Tea Association was advertised, and I just thought this must be fate. So I threw my hat in the ring, and luckily here we are. Gosh, what is it? It is 7 years later from that trip. I've really immensely enjoyed working in this industry, and I've learned so much. And it's a really, really interesting and complex supply chain. And of course, we're talking, here about tea, Camellia sinensis tea from the tea bush, but we also in the association cover herbal and fruit infusions. And so the ingredients for those beverages are also grown all over the world.
It's just fascinating. I could listen to you forever just talking about the different, I guess, the ways different countries approach tea and their produce, and something that they're really proud of, which is lovely. And sort of relating to that, there must be a number of different tea drinking rituals across the world. Do you have any personal favourites? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are lots of rituals. I've picked out 3 to sort of mention, and I'll have to start with China, because some of the oldest tea drinking traditions do come from China, and they have a tea ceremony, and it's called Gongfu Cha. And this uses a special tea set, often made of clay. So there's a pot and there's many small, very small cups. And the host prepares tea for everyone. And the ceremony is all about creating balance and sharing tea with others. And I've been lucky enough to, experience that ceremony several times. But then if we move to Japan, and we know now matcha is a very popular drink here in the UK. So this is the powdered green tea. They use that in their tea ceremony in Japan. And it has lots of steps and traditions. It's almost like a dance. It's absolutely amazing to watch. So the host spends a lot of time and care when making the matcha tea. They use special hand gestures and movements. They take a bamboo whisk and they use that to stir up the green matcha powder till it's frothy. And that's all done in a special bowl. And then the bowl is shared by all the guests. And that Japanese tea ceremony is really connected to Zen Buddhism rituals. And it's, again, all about creating harmony for your guests. And I've just been in India last year, and India doesn't necessarily have a formal ceremony, but they do have a spiced tea called masala chai, and that's enjoyed by all. Yes. And that's a black tea mixed with spices such as cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, cardamom. It's cooked directly in milk, and it's often served in these little clay cups called kulhads, which when you're finished, they break them up into a pile, and then those cups, they're often made into new cups. So fantastic bit of recycling there. And yeah, and again, the stalls where that spice chai is sold in the streets, they're really popular places for people to chat and share the latest news in the community. So again, a really good example of tea bringing people together. And that spice chai, masala chai, is really translated now into popularity in the UK. So we're seeing an explosion of masala chai shops, a lot in the capital in London, but all over Great Britain. And they're really creating a bespoke experience around drinking spice chai, which appeals to younger consumers. So, and you'll find those places in really fashionable districts like Borough Market, for example.
That's amazing. I'm just sorry, I know Jude's got the question, but I just wanted to interrupt for a second because it's really funny. I was speaking to someone recently about these tea shops, the masala chai tea shops. And one thing that I recognise from them is they're open quite later than sort of same time as the bars might be open, but it's completely dry, sober. And it's just a really safe place for people to go. And I think that's amazing.
I think it's amazing. And I heard a phrase yesterday. I attended a talk on the no and low alcohol trend. And I'm sure I'm probably the last one to come to this phrase, but it's the first time I heard it. Zebra striping. So apparently this zebra striping is what a lot of the younger generation are practicing, which is where you might have an alcoholic drink and then you may intersperse it with a non-alcoholic drink. And as you say, as we get more and more spaces created to enjoy in a social environment non-alcoholic beverages, I think this trend is only going to continue.
That's such a good idea. So when I've been into a shop that sells lots of different tea, there's so many varieties, so many different flavours. Where on earth do I start, and how do I start to make a choice?
Well, and I promise this is not an advertisement on behalf of the tea industry, but I would highly recommend take yourself on a bit of an adventure and start working your way through that tea shelf, because as you've rightly said, there are so many teas. You know, it always amazes me when people say they don't like tea, because I think there's hundreds of teas. You can't have tried them all. And I can only suggest you sort of try different teas, try different infusions, even a tea that you already know you like, try brewing it differently for a different length of time. You'll get a different flavor profile out of that tea. And eventually you will come to the point that you've found something that's just your cup of tea.
Literally. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start working my way through them. In terms of, obviously, flavour, there's differences, but is there a difference in goodness or benefits between black tea, green tea, white tea?
Yes. So I would say they're all good, but they're all good in different ways. So many people might not realise that white tea, green tea, black tea, oolong tea, pu'er tea, they all come from the same plant. So they all come from the Camellia sinensis tea bush. The difference in whether they become black, green, oolong or white is how they're processed. And essentially it's when those tea leaves are plucked from the tea bush. And, you know, for good quality tea, that's, they say 2 leaves and a bud. So that's the freshest leaves, the top of the tea bush. When they go from the field into the processing factory in those countries of origin, it depends how they're treated. So a green tea is minimally processed. So what you can have with some green tea is that we would say they're pan fried. So you basically heat those leaves up to stop any reactions going on in the leaves. An oolong tea is partly oxidized or aerated, so it's darker and has more strength than the green tea. So you pick the leaves and you allow them to undergo their natural processes. You know, like when you bite into an apple and it goes brown, that's due to this oxidation process. So those chemical changes, natural chemical changes, occur in the leaf. And then black tea undergoes full oxidation or aeration. And then white tea is kind of in between. It's lightly processed, but it's minimally oxidized. And all of those different processes, which, you know, the amount of expertise that goes into making those different teas from the same leaves is huge. But all of those different processes results in different distinct flavors and colors. And you get those distinct flavors and colors because you've got different chemical profile in those leaves after they've gone through those processes. And to your point about the health benefits, it's those different compounds. So I talked about flavonthiols. In green teas, you might get high levels of catechins. It's those different substances, those bioactives, that really give you the health benefits. So I'd say they're all good, but they're all good in slightly different ways.
That's so interesting. I had no idea that all those different teas came from the same plant. No idea. I thought they were different tea plants, and that's why. Gosh.
Nope.
I've learnt a lot. Thank you. What if you don't like tea? And you said, you know, some people say they don't like tea, but they can't possibly, but have tried them all. But what if someone really, really doesn't get it? What could they drink? What else could they drink that they would get the similar benefits from?
Yeah, as I say, I actually believe there is a tea for everyone, because even within those categories, there are so many different types of teas. But if you really have tried to find a tea that you like and you haven't succeeded yet, there's also herbal fruit infusions, and some 300 different plants and 400 plant parts, so leaves, barks, roots, are used to make herbal fruit infusions and blends. So I would say just keep exploring, because you will definitely find the tea for you. And certainly those herbal fruit infusions have, because they've got different natural components, different natural bioactives, also have a myriad of health benefits. Take, for example, chamomile. I think well-known traditional use for chamomile tea is to help with your sleep. Yes. So, you know, I think there's alternatives out there if you haven't found the tea for you just yet.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I love that, because it just means we have that choice and we can keep trying until we find the thing that suits us, which is exactly what life should be about. It's lovely chatting with you, Sharon. We're keeping you, and we'll be back just after this. Welcome back to Mental Health Matters After Hours. I know the show looks a little bit different at the moment. That's because I'm producing and presenting, and we've got the fabulous Dr Sharon Hall from the UK Tea and Infusion Association joining us on the call in the studio today, where Jude is. So it's a slightly different setup, but we have been learning all about the very many benefits of tea, and there are so many. And if you don't like tea, we all don't believe you. We just don't think you found the right one yet. But there are, I guess, some disadvantages to tea, Dr. Sharon. So, I mean, I know personally if tea is a little bit too strong, I get a bit of gastrointestinal discomfort. But to be fair, that's the same with coffee. Are there any sort of real disadvantages that we should maybe be aware of?
Well, I'm really interested that you say that, because actually extensive research has shown that tea's got a prebiotic effect. So different types of teas are known to rebalance the gut microbiota. So, you know, we always talk about those good bacteria, don't we, in your stomach. Certain teas, and your regular black and green tea will do this, have been shown to increase the ratio of the good to bad bacteria in our guts. And you know, this is an emerging area of science, isn't it? The gut's often called the second brain. And I think there's a lot more to discover about the benefits of tea for gut health. But yeah, absolutely, your regular cup of tea will actually be very good for your gut. So maybe Audrey, you're making it super strong. So maybe brew it for slightly fewer minutes.
I actually think you're absolutely right, because I've noticed it more, not when I brew the tea, but when somebody else has done it for me, like at an afternoon tea. So it's been sat there for a certain amount of time, and that could well be it. But sort of relating to that, and I take your point about the masala chai, because I have the bags. I have the masala chai tea bags, and I have ginger tea bags and mint tea bags. Is the bag good enough, though? It's
absolutely good enough. Bagged products are packed with really high quality ingredients. And the good thing about a product that's in a tea bag, I also advocate drinking loose, but good thing about products in tea bags, they're perfectly portioned. So, you know, they're designed to make that perfect cup or mug of tea. So you've got no concerns about the quality of the ingredients in your tea bag products. But that's not to say, you know, I have definitely been known to drink fresh mint with boiling water poured over it, which I also enjoy. But the mint products that you get in tea bags are brilliant.
That's good to know. Yeah, really good to know. Thank you. So do you have a favourite tea? And if so, why? Or do you favour different teas for different occasions?
Yeah, it's a bit like asking you to pick your favourite child. But I mean, every day I am a big tea drinker, fully confess. So I do drink a lot of breakfast blends, which, you know, is the most popular type of tea, black tea, that we drink in this country. And actually, they are blends. So they will often contain tea from East Africa, so Kenya, Malawi, from India, Assam in India, Sri Lanka. So they are blends of tea. You're really traveling around the world with your cup of tea. So I do tend to drink several mugs of breakfast blend every day, and I do favor a strong brew with plenty of milk. But I also, and I've got a tea just down here, I absolutely love a first flush Darjeeling, and this is known as the champagne of teas. It is a black tea, but you would not put milk into this tea. It's got a lovely light golden color. It's got an amazing sort of honey floral aroma. It's absolutely delicious, and I would say if people haven't tried first flush Darjeeling, then you definitely should. And then my third, if I can have a choice of three, I would say oolongs. Oolongs are absolutely delicious. And if you remember, I said they're slightly oxidized, slightly aerated, but not as much as extensively as a black tea. And you can get a really wide range of oolongs. They range from light teas, so it'll look almost clear, the liquor, right through to something that's very rich and toasty. So again, if you want to go on a tea drinking adventure from your armchair, I would recommend exploring oolongs because they are fantastic.
Oh, amazing. I'm going to try all those. And what about tea pairings? Are there different cakes or pastries that might go well with certain teas?
It's really interesting. So again, going back to our survey, most of us, and I'll put myself in this 50 plus category, you know, we like to have a sweet biscuit or a cake with our cup of tea. I think digestives are one of the most popular biscuits.
Yes.
But when we asked younger consumers, they were much more adventurous with what they pair with their tea. with many of them really liking to pair their teas with spicy foods such as samosas. So that was a really interesting finding.
Wow.
And actually, I have been for an Indian themed afternoon tea. So, you know, you have your lovely afternoon tea with the sort of tower of cakes and little sandwiches.
Oh, yes.
This Indian themed afternoon tea was all samosas. It was more spicy cakes. And we had absolutely delicious range of teas to pair those with. So I would say think outside of the box a little bit. And going back to that low, no alcohol trend, I think what's really underexplored, particularly in the UK, is drinking tea with our meals. So, for example, if we look at a green tea, that would pair really well with fish dishes. Your oolongs would pair well with poultry dishes, and your black teas would go well with more red meat, so beef, for example. And then there's a whole raft of recommendations out there for the different cheeses you could pair with teas and the different chocolates. So, for example, I like a blue cheese. I think you're getting the note that I like strong flavors.
Yeah, definitely.
A blue cheese would go really, really well with a really hefty dark black tea. So again, I really recommend experimentation.
Oh, wow. There's so much out there to explore you've just kind of brought to us. So thank you. It's been really fascinating. There's obviously lots more to learn about it. Where can we find out more about you?
Well, you can find out more about tea on our website, which is tea.co.uk. So really easy. And I am on LinkedIn if anybody wants to reach out.
That's amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Sharon.
Thank you.
We're going to leave Test the Trend to you today, Dr. Sharon. Can you teach us how to make the perfect cup of tea?
Something I didn't mention earlier when we were talking about Smart Boil is how you store your tea. So tea leaves are amazing at sucking up aromas, absorbing things around them. So definitely store your tea in a good jar or a good tin, and don't put it near something that's strong smelling in your cupboard, because the tea will absorb that aroma, that flavor. So start with good storage. Then I would say always use freshly drawn water. So you've got that oxygen in there to excite the flavors out of the tea leaves. Measure the water you need, and only that. Save time, money, and energy. Smart boil. Follow instructions on pack. So if on the back of your pack it says brew for at least 3 minutes, follow that guideline, because you'll get the most flavor out of that tea or herbal infusion, and you'll get the most benefits. And then I would say for the perfect cup of tea, really come back to have it your way. So experiment with how strong you like to make your tea. Do you like to add milk or not? Do you want to sweeten it or not? Really is that simple.
Well, we've reached the end of the show. I have learned so much, and I am definitely going to go and try First Flush Darjeeling. What about you, Jude?
Definitely. It looks so nice. It looked very, like she said, golden and honey-like. So, yeah, I can't wait to try that.
Beautiful. And I think she makes a really good point. Do what it says on the tin.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think I brew tea for long enough. I think I'm a bit impatient, so I'm going to try that.
Yes, absolutely. And I know when I haven't, because it makes it a funny colour. So it looks like that dishwatery type. But the other thing I hadn't realised, and I am guilty of this, is I didn't realise if you store tea next to something else that smells strongly, it can pick up and absorb the flavour in a way.
Yeah, I had no idea. We open the box and we just keep the box open.
Yeah.
But it needs to be inside something airtight, I think.
I've learned so much, and we're very much hoping Dr. Sharon will join us again. Meanwhile, if it's now 5 a.m. where you are, like us, I hope you enjoy your morning cuppa. Good night.